After being friends for so long, it was shocking when we found out that Kendrick Lamar and J. Cole were going to war against each other. All this kicked off when Kendrick Lamar, one of the most celebrated rappers of all time, fired off a surprise bazooka during a guest appearance on Future and Metro Boomin's chart-topping song, Like That. In that verse, Kendrick fired off indiscriminate shots at the two other biggest rappers in the world, Drake and J. Cole. While Kendrick and Drake had well-documented tensions dating back to over a decade, a lot of fans were really taken by surprise that K-Dot would diss J. Cole, especially since they've been friends for so long. The whole saga had people wondering, what went wrong here? I mean, like, was the beef even real? How did these two superstar rappers go from being longtime collaborators to potential enemies? Was Cole secretly baiting Kendrick this whole time with sneak disses? Was it really all because of J. Cole's close friendship with Drake? In the aftermath of Like That and Cole's reply, will their relationship ever be the same? But maybe most importantly, we'll break down if Kendrick and J. Cole's beef is really just a distraction from the main event, and if Kendrick's real enemy isn't Cole, but none other than Drake himself. How did these two guys become friends in the first place? It turns out that Kendrick Lamar and J. Cole knew each other from the very beginning of their careers. One of Kendrick's breakout singles, High Power, was actually produced by Cole.
Visions of Martin Luther staring at me. If I see it how he seen it, that will make my parents happy.
In fact, Cole knew about Kendrick so early on that he claimed he wanted to sign him himself, only to find out that he was already affiliated with the label Top Dog Entertainment. Cole would even go on to claim he told Dr. Dre about Kendrick and encouraged Dre to sign him, which Dre eventually did in 2012 when he announced Kendrick Lamar as a marquee artist for Aftermath Records.
J. Cole, did you tell Dr. Dre about Kendrick?
So yeah, I was like, yo, you gotta sign this kid from Compton, boom, boom, Kendrick, boom, boom.
Now, this could be the start of some of the bad blood between Cole and Kendrick. Cole was pretty much acting like the big homie, and some may say he was low-key trying to take credit for putting Kendrick on. Despite that, Cole and Kendrick would often pay homage to each other as they were coming up.
Where are you guys at now?
Same place. It's all love from the moment I did the verse to after the verse.
Kendrick featured on Cole's songs Forbidden Fruit and Under the Sun. And there were rumors that the two artists were working on a much-anticipated collab album. In 2015, they added fuel to the rumors when they jointly released a pair of Black Friday songs that featured Cole rapping over Kendrick's songs Alright and Kendrick flowing over Cole's track A Tale of Two Cities. It was a big show of mutual respect and only amped up the hype for these guys to release a project together. Around this time, there was also gossip that J. Cole got into a fight to protect Kendrick from none other than P. Diddy himself. At a VMA's after party in 2013, multiple sources reported that a visibly intoxicated Diddy ran up on Kendrick Lamar, confronting him for claiming that he was the king of New York on the song Control. People claim that Diddy tried to pour a drink on Kendrick and that Cole stepped in to intervene and actually got into a fight with Diddy before being thrown out of the venue. J. Cole would later confirm years later that he and Diddy got into a fight on his song Let Go My Hand. Now, while details of how things actually went down are still unconfirmed all these years later, all the news reports indicate that Cole really did step to Diddy in order to protect Kendrick. So J. Cole putting himself at risk on Kendrick's behalf pretty much shows the type of loyalty and respect these two had for each other. Maybe the most obvious fracture point in their relationship was Kendrick's landmark verse on Big Sean's Control. Back in 2013, he name-checked a bunch of his contemporaries, Mac Miller, Tyler the Creator, Meek Mill, J. Cole, and Drake included, and vowed to murder them in the spirit of competition. Some of these artists took it as a respectful shout-out, while others, like Drake, took it a lot more personally.
He's giving people like moments. Are you listening to it now, at this point in time? Okay. If I asked you, for example, like, how does that verse start?
Cole responded on the remix to the Justin Timberlake song TKO, where he pretty much dismissed Control as hype and declared he was willing to square up if pushed. While Cole and Kendrick were obviously still close, remember, this is right before Cole and Diddy's infamous fight, it was definitely a moment where the rap game politics seemed to influence their personal relationship. Somewhere along the way, things seem to have soured between Cole and Kendrick because there's been plenty of bars he's put out that sounded specifically written for his old friend K-Dot. On Secret Recipe, Cole's collab with Lil Yachty, he disses studio steppers moving extra on songs, Fake and Rep, which sounds a lot like a shot at Kendrick's last project, Mr. Morale style and the big steppers. He also calls out fake progressive and woke people, which some might register as a Kendrick diss, especially since Kendrick is widely acclaimed for making socially conscious music. During this time, you gotta remember that Kendrick, Drake, and J. Cole have been labeled the Big Three, namely the top tier rappers in this game. In that ranking, J. Cole has unanimously been placed in dead last, number 3, which Cole himself acknowledged. On the song Heaven's EP, he accepts that the public commonly gives him the bronze while shouting out Drake and Kendrick as the superstars that he looks up to.
Some people say that I'm running third, they threw the bronze at me. Behind Drake and Dot, yeah, them is superstars to me.
At the same time, Cole dismisses those rankings, claiming that some fans are too distracted by bells and whistles. Now, when you really read into it, it sounds like Cole is playing off Kendrick's numerous Grammy wins and accolades as almost unimportant. For the most part, these subliminal disses were low-key enough to escape any type of scrutiny until Cole decided to link up with Kendrick's biggest enemies. Last year, Drake and J. Cole went number 1 on the charts with their track First Person Shooter. The single was phenomenally successful and even kicked off a joint co-headlining tour between Cole and Drake. The fact that two of the biggest, most critically acclaimed, most successful rappers alive were going on tour together was huge news for the fans. But the crazy thing about First Person Shooter is that it also had J. Cole making the most direct and controversial address to Kendrick yet. In the song, Cole shouts out both Drake and Kendrick as being part of the so-called Big Three, but then goes to call himself Muhammad Ali.
We the Big Three like we started a league, but right now I feel like Muhammad Ali.
Pretty much he's saying screw Kendrick, the Big Three, whatever, but I'm the one. Cole also calls himself numero uno, while he and Drake say their link up is as big as the Super Bowl. When you really think about it, Cole was being super brazen here. He was checking Kendrick by name and essentially placing himself as Drake as above him in the top 2. Remember, this song wasn't just a blockbuster hit. Drake and Cole performed it together on stage night after night after night. I don't think they realized it at the time, but those guys pushed Kendrick way too far. And to be honest, none of us realized how Kendrick was feeling about it until he went on a warpath on Future and Metro Boomin's new album, We Don't Trust You. On Like That, Kendrick fired off a nuclear missile at the idea that he could be compared to anybody. He directly called out the first person shooter, dissed Drake multiple times, and most importantly said, "Motherfucker the Big Three, it's just big me." Now, Kendrick still having static with Drake doesn't come off as a big surprise, but stomping on Cole, Jermaine Cole, the same guy who apparently fought Diddy on his behalf, it was some different energy, not gonna lie. As far as the fans knew, Cole and Kendrick were still on decent terms, so there was a ton of whiplash going on when Kendrick basically sniped down Cole for shouting him out in the first place. Now, everyone was waiting for Cole to respond. But that response definitely did not go as planned. On April 5th, Cole dropped a surprise mixtape, Might Delete Later, that came packaged with a direct reply to Kendrick. If Cole had been firing subliminal shots for the last couple years, he finally decided to take off the silencers and go at his former friend for real. On 7 Minute Drill, Cole compared Kendrick to a fly he was about to swat, mocked his height, dissed his discography, and basically challenged Dot to come correct.
I'm hesitant, I love my brother, but I'm not gonna lie. I'm powered up for real, that would feel like swatting a fly.
While Kendrick definitely escalated things with Like That, it sounded like Cole was trying to come at Kendrick in a lot more of a personal way. But even with that, a lot of fans and critics panned 7 Minute Drill and said that Cole just wasn't coming hard enough. Cole's critique of Kendrick's music was declared as unconvincing, and he got a lot of flack for bars on another song, Pie, which was widely criticized for being transphobic. Just 2 days after dropping 7 Minute Drill, J. Cole took the stage at his annual Dreamville Festival in North Carolina and shocked the world again by apologizing? That's right. Just 48 hours after going at one of the biggest rappers in the world, Cole disowned his diss track and tried to publicly make amends with Kendrick in front of tens of thousands of fans.
So I'm so proud of that project, except for one part. It's one part of that that make me feel like, man, that's the lamest I ever did in my life, right? It's love. And I pray that, I pray that y'all are like forgiving for like the misstep, and then I can get back to my true path.
Not only that, but Cole also vowed to remove 7 Minute Drill from streaming platforms. Cole deciding to retract his diss goes to show the level of respect he has for Kendrick. So after all the drama, all the disses, and the apology, what happens next? During his public apology to Kendrick, Cole pretty much said that he let Kendrick take any shots at him without responding. His exact words were, "I got my chin out," so it's conceivable that Kendrick might stomp him some more for even trying to go at him in the first place. But in all honesty, the beef between Kendrick and J. Cole was always an undercard compared to the main event that had fans waiting for years, and that's the long brewing war between Kendrick and Drake. The beef between Kendrick and Drake is way more complicated and personal than anything going on with J. Cole. Like Kendrick and Cole, Drake's relationship with Kendrick goes back to the early stages of their careers. Drake took Kendrick on tour with him when Kendrick was still an up-and-coming artist, and they collabed on multiple songs together. But that all ended when Kendrick name-checked Drake on his Control verse. Drake took the call out on a personal level, and ever since then they've been firing subliminal shots back and forth. This has been going on for over a decade, and when Kendrick directly addressed Drake on Like That, it was the sharpest escalation their beef had ever seen. The real battle here is between Drake and Kendrick. K-Dot and Drake are about to go scorched earth, so where does that leave J. Cole? Since Cole apologized, Drake responded with a track of his own, Push-Ups, where he not only shot at Kendrick directly, but even name-checked Cole, essentially dismissing him for apologizing.
I don't care what Cole think, that dot weak as champagne tripping, he is not
The popular consensus between fans and music insiders is that Cole essentially surrendered his Big Three position by failing to come at Kendrick in a meaningful way. After claiming Super Bowl status for months alongside Drake, Cole's pretty much taken himself out of the game. As far as we know, the beef between Cole and Kendrick has been put on ice, but it only takes one verse or one line to heat right back up. With so many people choosing sides in the Kendrick-Drake beef, it's only a matter of time that J. Cole's name gets brought back up in the mix. After a punishing back and forth between Kendrick Lamar, the popular consensus around the world is that Drake got handed a major L. After dropping his response Family Matters, Drake got outmaneuvered when Kendrick released his reply Meet the Grams just 20 minutes after, and then followed it up with Not Like Us. When Drake finally got back at Kendrick with The Heart Part 6, everyone took his response to be less of an escalation and more of a surrender. But the question we're gonna get into is, why are people so happy to see Drake fail? Finally, I want to look at Drake's supposed allies. Who are they, and why are they not backing him up when he's literally fighting for his life? Are they also gonna turn their back on him? Drake, however, just recently fired back on the song Family Matters, claiming that The Weeknd was drugged out and that his music only gets played in gay clubs. Kendrick's beef with Drake is a complicated saga, but fans never really knew how bitter and dark the tension was between them until their recent back and forth of diss tracks. Drake accused Kendrick of domestic violence on his song Family Matters, while Kendrick claimed that Drake had another secret child on Meet the Grams and alleged that Drake keeps sex offenders in his circle. When the smoke cleared, it looked pretty certain that Kendrick decisively knocked the crown off Drake's head, handing the sixth god a pretty humiliating public loss. So here's the real question. Where does Drake go from here? And is there anyone left on his side? Well, there's Lil Yachty, who's confirmed to have written a bunch of Drake's recent songs. They've been spending a lot of close time together as of late, but amid the Kendrick-Drake war, he's been suspiciously quiet. Is he choosing sides or just laying low? Drake also lent a big assist to Jack Harlow when he appeared as a feature on Jack's song Churchill Downs. But even with a major career boost as well, Jack still remained silent. It's tough to see Jack rushing in to jump to Drake's aid when he's up against a titan like Kendrick. It's hard to say if he's built for that type of smoke. As the Kendrick-Drake war was heating up, footage appeared of Travis Scott dancing with a bunch of people in Greece and apparently having a great time. Even though Drake's been a very reliable collaborator, Travis seems determined to sit this one out and hasn't said anything in support of Drake, even while he's at his lowest. But what about Lil Wayne? Wayne has been Drake's mentor and boss for years, but Kendrick exposed some pretty salacious facts about their relationship. Drake slept with Wayne's girl while he was incarcerated, and even though they've worked together since, the fact that Kendrick aired details about the relationship in public like that might hurt Drake even more. Even though Wayne's always supported Drake, he's still been staying neutral throughout this whole thing. Even 21 Savage, who's been on Drake's side for the last 2 years, has offered zero support to one of his most prolific collaborators. Kendrick even name-checked Savage and Not Like Us, saying 21 gave Drake fake street cred, but it wasn't enough to tag him into the beef. At this point, it really looks like Drake is being hung out to dry. And with the loss so public, it's safe to say that people's hate for him will be validated. Is Drake just gonna tap out, or is he gonna find a way to spin the block and come back at everybody who's counted him out? For that, we're just gonna have to wait and stay tuned.